Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of me trying to talk to you while MJ is sleeping. Let's see how long this lasts. But it is Tuesday night. It's like 11 o'clock or something. And I've been trying to make this video since Saturday, and just time and, circumstances have not really been in my favor. And so I'm just going to make this video here. So yeah, this is just the best I could do. But I wanted to give you guys a update on me and what's been going on, kind of behind the scenes, because I just feel like I share lots of things, and obviously this is the most significant thing. Well, I mean, not even necessarily the most significant, but just extremely impactful, clearly. And so I figured I would update you guys and, let you guys know what's going on. And so, I guess the first thing I'll mention is, how I spent the money, because just so blessed to have, people really just reach into their pockets and be so generous and just be so open-handed with me. And so, I want to say that, okay, let me see here, because I don't have, I've been planning on making this video, and so I had like these notes and stuff, but they're up in my room, and I don't feel like going up there and coming back down and hoping that he's still asleep. But, so I want to say that the funeral and the burial, all of that came to like maybe like 11,000. I want to say that's right. I know the headstone was like 3,000, and then we got a picture of him put on the headstone, and that was like another 1,000 or so. And I think I want to say, I really should have written this down like on a notebook or something, so I could like have it readily available. But I want to say altogether probably it came to like no more than like 16,000 altogether. So that's like all like the major like actual final expenses. And I find like now, like I feel like this experience has just made a lot of things in my life, or a lot of things that you hear about, like more real and transparent. So like when you see those commercials, like when you're watching, like The Price is Right with your grandma or your aunt or whatever, and you see these commercials for like life insurance and final expenses, it's like final expenses. It's like you have so many things that come up when someone passes away. Like if you're their spouse, I guess, like if you were their power of attorney, or if you were just their kid or their spouse, like I guess the next of kin, but definitely primarily if you were their spouse, that you have all this other stuff that now becomes final expenses that you probably didn't even know about. Like, I had to pay other cities that Mario had like court fees and fines in, because, I called them to, just make sure that everything was good. And they're like, oh, well, he has this outstanding balance. And I'm like, oh, well, he's passed away, thinking like I'm just gonna have to like email or fax over a copy of the death certificate. And they're like, oh, well, no, like that still has to get paid. And it's like, what? It's not even that deep. like we're talking about a traffic ticket. Like we're talking about a red, like a speeding ticket or something. And you mean to tell me that that's gonna carry over into the afterlife? Like, please be so for real. But they said that they could have garnished it, and by the time that they actually got around to garnishing it, it would have been more because the fees and whatnot tacked on. So I just went ahead and took care of all of that. And so, a couple cities that I had to handle with that. So that was, maybe another $1,000 or so. And I'm trying to think about he had a credit card, but thankfully credit cards, they don't like roll over. They don't roll over into the afterlife. So I just called them and got that handled. the city of Virginia Beach. He had a ticket out there, and so they took the death certificate and said, it's just all settled like a normal city would do. But don't ever get a ticket in the city of Hampton or in Yorktown, Virginia. Okay, that's not what you want to do. So yeah, there's that. And then obviously, you've been seeing the vlogs. I've just been out doing stuff, having fun, trying to figure out who I am and what I want to do. So that's, what I've been spending the money on. I bought a new laptop, I bought a new camera, I bought some shoes. Since, I'm into walking now and hiking, so I got some good hiking shoes. Got some new, like, winter slides. I got this car repaired that was in the shop for 6 weeks. So the car was a free gift. I don't know if I've said that on the channel. I know I've talked about it on my Instagram, but I got this car as a gift from a man that used to go to our church. And so the car was free, but not long after I got it, the timing belt snapped, and when it snapped, it bent some valves, and so I had to get that repaired, and the check engine light was on, and the AC went out, and so I had to pay like $2,300 to fix the car. So I kind of ended up just paying for the car, because that's pretty much what the marketplace value is. It's a little bit higher than that. Like the average is like $1,800, so paying $2,300 was kind of a bit, but I was able to do that, thanks to you guys and your donations and all that. Gosh, what else? Just like little odds and ends, and the fact that I feel like I was able to stretch the money out 6 months. I mean, I feel like that's pretty good in my opinion. I mean, all things considered. I was able to go out of the country, and of course my mom, she paid for a lot of that. But yeah, I mean, I've been able to, make the money that I had stretch. And so now I'm just waiting on Social Security to come in, so I actually have like a regular income, which, is just so incredible how God provides. Because not long before Mario passed, we were like everybody, struggling. With trying to make ends meet, having too much a month at the end of our money. And I was talking to him, and I was, a little anxious, a little worried, a little in the flesh. And I was like, what are we gonna do? We're broke. Like, we have to pay our car insurance. We can't, let our car insurance lapse, or we're gonna get an SR22, and it's gonna make our insurance go up, and we can't do this. And it's just like, oh, what are we gonna do? And he said, and I quote, "Don't worry about that. You just focus on keeping milk in your breasts, and I'll worry about the money." Okay. Okay. You got it. And he was just, he was just a provider. Like, we never went without. Like, in all 4 years, now we didn't always have a rent, because there were times where we were living with my aunt and we didn't have to pay rent, and so there was that. And then when we first got married, we were living in his best friend's mom's garage, and she only charged him like $400 a month, so that was like nothing. But for the majority of our marriage, we had at least a little bit of rent, and we never were late on our rent, especially not in the last place that we lived, because you only had like 5 days and then you had to pay, and so we never exceeded our 5-day limit. I always say, like, we never got our lights turned off, we never got our water shut off, and it's like, well, I mean, technically we did get our water and our lights shut off, but that was because it was a fluke, because he thought I paid the bill and I thought he paid the bill, and then the bill didn't get paid, and then it got shut off, and we were like, oh wait, why do we have extra money? Oh yeah, something didn't get paid. So we never got stuff turned off because we didn't have the money. We got stuff turned off because we were negligent. But just, and obviously, it ultimately, glory goes to God, because he has the cattle on 1,000 hills, and he provides. But he always used Mario to facilitate that, and we just always had it, and we just never went without. And it's just, it's just so beautiful. And even now, in Mario's passing, being that we are going to be sustained on his Social Security, he is still providing. Yeah, I mean, he is still, the words of, don't worry, just focus, basically, just focus on feeding MJ, don't worry about the finances. I will handle that. That's my area. And it still rings true. Like, he's still providing for his wife and his son, and he's not even here. Like, this man is an S tier provider. It just blows me away, just seeing the faithfulness of God in this season, and how it would be so easy to get depressed and be discouraged and be bitter and resentful and frustrated. And I can't say that I haven't had any of those feelings in the last 6 months, but they definitely have not been sustained, because I always just come back to the fact that, God is faithful, and we as humans, we make our own decisions, and we have to, live with our decisions. And God did not make robots, and we have free will, and we can choose to do things and not do things. And, and those around us are not, exempt from those things. So, like, even if I make a decision, if I make a decision, it affects those around me regardless, if they didn't want me to make that decision or what have you. But God is always the same. God is always faithful. And so it's just like, man, I mean, the words of the Bible just kind of jump off the page at me, it seems, in these last few months. And so, yeah, I mean, just, I can't say that, where is God? God deserted me. God abandoned me. I don't feel your presence. I feel like you've left me, because I genuinely can't say that I feel that way. And, I don't know. I don't know, I feel like people are so different. We each have our own personalities and whatnot. And so, I hesitate to say, like, oh, like, everything's okay. Everything's going to be okay. I'm going to be all right. And just kind of everything's gravy, because I understand that I just kind of have that natural disposition. And for someone who is different from me, then, it would be a lot harder. And it's not that, God has blessed me more than that other person. It's just how we perceive it. And I don't know why I am the way I am. Like, my dad, he would always tell me that. He's like, you just have such a bright spirit. You just, don't let things stick to you. And you just kind of go with the flow. And I just love that about you. Like, that's such a good trait that you picked up. I don't know where you got that from. But so, it's like, yeah, God is faithful and God is providing. But there are a lot of people that God provides for and is faithful to, and they still kind of have a bad attitude. And so, I don't know. But I just trust. Like, I just believe that God is working all things out for my good. And that really keeps me going. And I've been telling people something else that has really been keeping me going, because, like, I've had people ask me, like, how have you not, like, fallen into depression? Like, I've had people who talk to me who struggle with depression and anxiety, and they've been asking me about tips on how I kind of combat that. And so I always say that, of course, I'm leaning on the Lord. I'm trusting in God. But some other things, some more, I guess, like, practical things that I'm doing that I'm really, really, I'm like really into, and I would highly recommend, are that I'm always having things that I'm looking forward to. So I watched this movie one time. I think it's called Side Effects. And I think in that movie, I think that's where I got that definition from. What the movie, it kind of starts off with saying that depression is the inability to imagine a future. And so for some reason that just always stuck with me in my head, that depression is the inability to imagine a future. And so when this happened, I'm really big into preventative maintenance in myself, not in my car. That's why I was in the shop for 6 weeks, but I digress. And so I want to see common pitfalls, that are specific to me, as a woman, as a black woman, as a tall woman, as a mom. and then just in general as a person. And so, like, when I was married, I was always looking at videos on, how women are always complaining about their husband, or women are always complaining about being a wife, and they get bitter and they nag, and, they get very easily, disgruntled with their situation. And obviously, the devil is attacking wives, more, or they're susceptible more, or they're falling for the tricks more, because women are the ones leaving the home at the 70% rate. And so I would try to be very proactive in my mindset, okay, where it's like, I'm not going to compare my marriage to other women's marriages. I'm not going to compare my husband to other women's husbands. I'm going to be appreciative, and I'm not going to fall into this trap that I see so many women falling into. And so the same thing is like, okay, well, I know that I'm obviously in a very vulnerable state. I know that I'm in a weakened emotional state. And so what can I do to prevent myself from falling into depression, which is a very common pitfall? It seems like everybody has depression and anxiety now. And so just always having things that I'm looking forward to in front of me has really, really, really been beneficial, I think. And I've always been the kind of person that's like on the go, always wanting to go somewhere, do something, go hang out with friends, go do something interesting, go out to eat, whatever. I've kind of always been like that. But I've just been I've just like cranked it up to 11 now. And it's like I leave first thing in the morning and I'm not back until like 11 o'clock at night. And so I never have a shortage of things I'm looking forward to. Like tomorrow I'm going to be hanging out with my friends. We might go on a walk. We might go to the library. And so that's fun. And then I have church every Wednesday night. And so I go see my family. I go see Mario's mom's side of his family on Saturdays. I see his dad's side on Tuesdays. And so I'm always looking forward to that because they're always, they're a lot of fun. I mean, oh my gosh, obviously I'm looking forward to seeing my son have his first birthday, like I just have so many fun things in front of me that I feel like that is an extremely practical way of preventing yourself from falling into just this pit of despair and just like hopelessness. And like another, I didn't hear this anywhere, but this is kind of just what I've picked up from hearing things and hearing people talk about depression, is that depression, another functional definition would be like the inability to like conceptualize a purpose, or like you don't have a purpose, you feel like your life doesn't have meaning or value and stuff like that, like you don't know what you're here for, like you don't really see the purpose of you being alive. And so that's another thing that I've been reinforcing, is that I know I have a purpose. I know that even though my life has taken a serious nosedive and in its quality and its overall happiness, that I have a purpose and that my life has value. And so like I have a son to raise, that he needs me. And I'm a soul winner. People need me to give them the gospel, or else they're not going to hear it. I mean, the gospel isn't just going to just pop into your head. It's not going to just come into your ears. How will they hear unless they have a preacher? And so that gives me a lot of purpose. I feel a lot of, value and fulfillment by going out and sharing the gospel with people and explaining the gospel to people. And so if you saw that video that I did where I was soul winning in the name of Brother Kevin Rowe, then that guy that said that he didn't have time for the full presentation, and I gave him my number, I've been talking with him a lot, and he's currently in rehab, and he's trying to get his life on track, and I'm trying to explain the gospel to him and how it's free and how there's no work involved at all in any regard, no upwards, downwards, no work. And it is just really blowing him away, because being that he's in rehab, he feels the need to change his life, and he feels that he needs to better himself, which he does. That's a great thing. But I have to really hammer in the fact that whether or not you ever touch another drop of alcohol has no bearing on you going to heaven. Whether or not you relapse has no bearing on you going to heaven. Salvation is by faith alone, and it's good grief. And there is no work involved. There is nothing that you can do to earn your salvation or to lose your salvation. And I mean, hearing this is just blowing his mind. He's like, what in the world? Like, I've never heard this before. Like, you really mean to tell me that, I can do, whatever I want and I can go to heaven? And it's just like, yeah, yeah, that is what I'm saying. Don't do whatever you want, okay? Because that's not good and God will punish you. But, and that's very important, but is that yes, you can. Salvation is by faith alone. And so I gain a lot of purpose by opening people's eyes and giving them the good news that you are going to continue to waffle and to sin and to mess up every single day, but none of that is ever going to separate you from the love of God, which is in Christ Jesus our Lord. And so that always is just a silver lining around my day and around my life. I just love talking to people about the gospel and giving people good news. And so those are the two main things that I've really been leaning into, is just trying to make sure that I'm always keeping fun things in front of me, and that I'm reinforcing and staying grounded and minded in my purpose and what I am to do. So I've been exercising outside. I've been going on my walks still. And another something I'm looking forward to is, losing weight. And I'm looking forward to eventually being debt free. That's something that I was talking with my mom about. And, when the money first came in from like the GoFundMe and the life insurance, I was like, oh, I could pay off my debt. And she was like, not so fast. She's like, until you get a regular income, because you don't know when you're going to get any more money coming in, you want to hold off on that. And I was like, okay, mom giving me the blue chips. That's another thing too, is that, this season has just been very life-giving for my relationship with my mom, because I said before that I wasn't raised by my mom. I was raised by my dad. And so I didn't always just have, my mom around at the drop of a hat, and she wasn't always readily available to me physically, that is. I could always call her, but she just wasn't always there physically with me. And, that's not good. The best parent is both parents. And so, I love my dad, but, my relationship with my mom, it just wasn't as close as, like girls who are raised with their mom. And so that's something I've always longed for and yearned for. And my mom has just really just shown up. Like, she has just shown up in this season. And it really started when MJ was born. Like, the fact that she was there, she was literally holding me as I was giving birth to MJ. And so that, would just always be a touching thing that we share. And the fact that when I got the news that Mario had been in his accident, that I called her and she was at our house. Like, like Mario, he had left to go to work. I was out I was hanging out with my friends when I got the call. I was out at like a petting zoo, and my mom was at the house. And so I called her, and she was just there. Like, she was there. And, and there's just nothing that can really ever replace just being there and being available to people when you need them. And so it's like, just in this season, and then I spent, the summer with her. And so just her being there has, I feel like, for me on my end, has just really like patched up a lot of, like, I guess my inner child, and really been a blessing to me, because it's like, you need your parent especially to be there for you when you need them. And it's not good enough for them to kind of like show up later, or, just be a phone call away, but to just really be there physically. And the fact that she has been there physically for me lately is just, it's just very interesting that, that's something that's come out of this situation that is like another silver lining. And I was just talking to Mario's paternal grandma today when I was visiting her, and I was saying how, it's ironic that, I'm coming over every week now, because we weren't coming over every week to see you guys, when it was, the three of us, for the 4 months that it was the three of us. But before MJ even got on the scene, like Mario and I, we weren't visiting his mom every week, as much as I'm sure she would have liked that. And we weren't visiting his grandparents every week. We saw them, like maybe once a month, like we saw them for holidays and for the Super Bowl, which is, basically a holiday, for birthdays and just kind of here and there. Oh, we'll see you when we see you. We'll catch up with you. Whatever, busy, you got work. You just take people for granted. In most scenarios, until you kind of get forced to be reminded that tomorrow's not promised. And we all know that, but like when it's really foisted upon you, it makes you really recalibrate and rethink of that. And so it's like, I think MJ is probably going to be closer with his great grandparents and his grandmother now than he would have been had Mario been around, because he's going to see them a lot more. Like, he's going to see them every week. And so it's like another silver lining. So obviously I'm very sad. Okay, I'm still very sad. I feel like the number one thing is that, like, I have my friends, I have my parents, I'm doing fun things, I'm going on adventures, and like, my needs are met, my physical needs are met. But I guess just the overarching thing for me now is just the fact that I'm lonely. And I said that on like the stream that I did, where I told everybody what happened on that thank you stream, and how I said that like, I just feel lonely. And that was just like 2 days after he had passed. And I feel exactly the same. Like, I just feel lonely. And so I feel like I'm also trying to cope. Like, I'm trying to cope with that, by going to all these fun things and hanging out with my friends all the time, and always looking for new things, like chasing this white rabbit of new and exciting, because I'm just lonely. And so, of course, like, I was hanging out with my cousin this past weekend, and he's in a, what is it called? Not a fraternity, but he's a Freemason. That's a whole nother discussion, but yeah, so he's a Freemason. And we were doing this thing for a family, like an old ancestor, doing like this proclamation thing. It's a whole thing. But anyways, so I was hanging out with my cousin, and he invited his Freemason friends to the event, and he introduced me to them, and of course he said, "Hey, this is my cousin." And I'm like, "Hi, nice to meet you." And he's like, "She's single." So it's like, oh, brother. And it's just like, I know that at some point, the Bible says that the younger widows, when they, wax wanton, they will remarry. And so I know I need to get remarried at some point. That's the good thing to do. That's what God wants for me. And I'm not mad at that. I want that. I want to be a wife again. I want to have more kids, at some point. But I just think, like, oh man. It just cracks me up how people, and not even just my cousin, but like going back to my mom, like, she was, trying to fix me up with people, had this guy that she just feel like is a really good fit for me. And it's just like, oh man, like, it's like I want to be married, because obviously I was married and that's what I wanted. And so I desired to be married, but I just can't imagine being with someone else. Like, it's just too crazy. It just still sounds too crazy to me. And I think, like, what does it mean to be ready to date again? Like, I don't even know what that means. Like, I can't conceptualize, like, what does that mean to be ready? Like, well, when you're over it, well, what does that mean? Like, what does that mean? Like, how do you get over the death of the only man you've ever loved? Like, what are you talking about? Like, how do I get over the father of my only child? Like, it's too crazy. Like, trying to conceptualize death, I feel like now has just become this really big hurdle. Because, like, before, death was something that was on paper, and it's like, oh yeah, like, I understand that. I know what that word means. I've known people who have since died. Like, yeah, like, I understand that concept. But no, actually, I didn't understand that concept, and it was completely foreign to me. And I've been going to grief classes, And literally the first class that I went to, it wasn't the first, it's like a 13-week program. Um, and I didn't do it like from day one. And so I jumped in like at day 4 or whatever. And the first class that I went to, it was talking about how you're going to have your friends who are going to try to comfort you in this season of grief. And they're going to say stuff that's stupid, but they mean well. So just kind of give them grace. And I immediately thought about me. And I thought about how I was that stupid friend that tried to comfort Mario, but would just completely say things that were dumb. Because, like I said in that thank you stream, is that Mario's dad passed away when he was a kid. He was 11 years old when his dad passed away. And I came on the scene, just 4 years ago. And I would tell him sometimes, over the course of our marriage, like, because he did a lot of things in the spirit of his dad. So, like, we bought a car one time because his dad had that car. He would buy clothes that his dad had, shoes, listen to music that his dad listened to, go to places that his dad went because he remembered him and he loved him. And sometimes I feel like that miss would kind of manifest in a way that I didn't personally feel like was healthy. And so I would say, I don't really think that you're over the death of your father. And sometimes he would say, oh no, I am. I'm over it. I'm past it. I'm okay. And then other times he would say, well, no, I'm not past it. I don't really know where to go from here. And it's like, I just want, Mario, he was such a saint, because how did he not slap me for saying something so dumb as, I don't think that you're over the death of your father? What does that even mean? What was I saying? Like, what was I talking about? Like, why was I such an idiot? And it's just like, people who don't understand, they just don't understand. Like, they'll never understand until they experience it. And it's like, I watch now as I see people like talk online about Erica Kirk and how she's acting weird, and oh, she's acting really strange, and oh, did you see the way that she acted at the memorial for Charlie Kirk, and oh, the way that she's acting on his podcast, like she's smiling and laughing, like, oh, something fishy is going on. And it's just like, oy vey. I mean, it's just like they just don't get it. They simply just don't get it. And I'm kind of glad, like, and part of me is glad, like, I'm so happy that you don't understand what she's going through. I'm so happy that you can't conceptualize just the mental toll. Like, I mean, I can't speak for her, obviously, but I feel like for me, like, my foundations as my understanding of reality and life and death have just been completely shaken. Like, my foundations have been shaken in this experience. And you have no idea how you're going to react to the sudden and abrupt, and in her case, very violent, death of your spouse. And so, we just got to have grace with people. And that's what, they talked about in the class, is that, you got to have grace with your friends who say dumb things with well intentions. And so, God bless Mario. He was a saint. He put up with me, trying to give my good advice. Oh, actually, you should read this book. You should go to this class. You need to go to therapy. You need to do dip, 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 dip. And I don't know what I'm talking about, and I'm just an idiot. And so, it just blows me away how, I have people talking to me about how I need to, get myself back out there, put myself back out there, and I need to eventually get remarried. And it's just like, is being lonely a valid reason to go on a date? Like, is that even, like, I don't even understand, like, what mental state am I supposed to be in when I know that I'm ready to go on a date again? Like, what? I mean, am I ever supposed to actually get to the point where I don't think about him every day? Am I ever supposed to get to the point where I don't miss him? Am I ever supposed to get to the point where, like, I think about love and I think about romance and he is not my frame of reference? Like, am I ever supposed to get to the point where I'm not comparing other men to him? Like, that just doesn't even sound realistic to me. Like, it just sounds crazy to think about. And it's just like, I know for a fact that I do want to get remarried, because I know for a fact that I want more children. Like, a whole nother thing is, like, I can't imagine MJ being my only child. Like, raising a kid is just too much fun. It's too joyful and fulfilling to just want to do it one time. Like, we got to run this back. So I need me a new man. I need me a new husband. Okay, that part. Okay, husband before baby. That's your free advice. But yeah, but it's just like I can't bridge that gap between me missing and loving and I'm still like yearning for Mario to being with some other guy. Like what? Like who are you? I can't be with someone else. Like, it's just too crazy. So I don't know, but it's just like so many things to think about. It's like I know that, like I know that like not staying I know that staying single is really just not an option because children, especially boys, not having a father is like the number one factor, like a number one decider of like how they're going to end up. It's like if they're going to be successful, they're going to be a deadbeat, they're going to be a drug addict, whatever. Like, boys need their father. Like, that's just completely without question. And so for me to deprive MJ of a good father would just be selfish. And so, and like I said, I want more kids, whatever. So it's like, I know I'm going to have to get remarried. But what does healing, what does reaching that point look like? Because I don't, like, every man who is married deserves to be loved the way that I love Mario. And so I don't want to marry some guy and always be comparing him to Mario in the back of my head and think to myself, like, you're not as cute as he was, but I guess I'll marry you because I gotta marry somebody. Like, I don't want that. That's not what he deserves. Like, but it's just, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, guys, this is my mental state. This is what I think about all day. All that goes through my mind is, how can I be the best mother to MJ? How can I honor Mario's legacy? And how can I actually get to my goal weight? Those are the three things that are going on in my head all day. And how can I pass out more tracks? Okay, those are the four things that are in my mind all day long. Everything else just comes and goes. Those are the four mainstays. But yeah, so just, that's where I am. I'm just trying to figure out exactly where am I trying to go? Like, what exactly is the destination that I'm trying to reach in my healing process and my grief process? Because in my class that I go to, I mean, there's people in there whose person died like 4 or 5 years ago, and they still cry like every time they talk about them. And I don't want to be there. I understand that that's okay, and if that's you, then that's you. But I don't want to do that, and I don't want to be there because I just don't feel like that's not my definition of progressing in a healthy time frame. And so I want to get to the point where I could look at another guy, as a possible husband. And I want to get there, sooner rather than later, because I'm not getting any younger. And like I said, got to have some more kids. But I don't know. So that's just kind of where I am. Just trying to lose weight, trying to win more souls, trying to get debt free, trying to raise my son to not be a felon, and possibly, pick up a new guy along the way. But that's all I got for you guys today. I hope that this was something. I don't know. Was it entertaining? Was it informative? I don't know. I don't know. I just feel the need to keep you guys posted on how I'm going, how I'm doing. So that way you guys don't worry too much. It's like, is she really doing okay? Is she really all right? I know I like to put on a front, put on this, brave face. And everyone keeps saying, oh, you're so strong. Oh, you're such a strong woman. And it's like, I guess. But, I am still very much grieving, still very much hurting. But, hey, I'm just going to push through. That's all I can do. So I appreciate you guys' time. And I look forward to talking to you again.